This conference will now be recorded.
Turn things over to Cindy.
Well, thank you, Norval, and thank you for having me again. I've really enjoyed this lunch forum. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to do about 25, 30 minutes of this presentation, and then I'll be standing by for any questions you have. So to get started, we're going to talk about employee empowerment and specifically about how to use how we use military tools that can support your organizational culture. I feel it's a very important aspect of work is to have a good, strong culture, but also to empower your personal. Okay, so going on to my bio. I hear somebody echoing. Can you please check your side and make sure you mute? Thank you so much. Okay, so just quick glimpse of me. I work for McKean Defense. We are a maintenance modernization Navy support for surface ship repair. We also have some IT support that we can provide for our customers, but we're essentially a Department of Defense contracting company that's been supporting the Navy for over 10 years now, and I've been here at McKean Defense for about 7. We are an employee-owned company, so that just makes it even better. As you see, I have my service warfare pin. So while I was in the Navy, I did 23 years. I was enlisted first as a cryptologist, and then I became a service warfare officer, which meant I was responsible for shipboard personnel and making sure ships got where we needed to be and did what we needed to do to keep peace. I'm also an adjunct professor at Stratford University. I teach in the business curriculum, so I teach undergrad and graduate courses. I was the chair of ASQ Section 1128, which is here in the Tidewater section of Hampton Roads in Virginia Beach specifically. And I put a picture in there for what I like to do outside of work, which is support team and training. We're a group of runners that support team and training doing fundraising for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And this picture was this weekend when I decided crazily enough to raise money and run the Chicago Marathon. If you go back and look at my number, you will find that I did not do it very quickly, but I did that, and with the help of friends, family, coworkers, we were able to raise over $900,000 for our entire team and train group. Personally, we brought in about $1,200 for my part. But if I have any team and train friends out there, just please get in contact with me. I'd love to have time to meet you. Okay, so for the agenda, we're going to go through this list of stuff, but basically we're going to talk about empowerment and supporting your culture through the use of mission statements, published standards. We all have published standards, but I'm going to talk about the military's type of published standards and how it can relate to what you do, and specifically the Navy. We're going to talk about standing orders, night orders, any programs that we have. Talk about retention, because as you know, the military is a volunteer organization in the United States. So nobody has to stay in past their initial commitment. So we have to find ways of engaging with our personnel and making them want to stay in. But we want to do it without fear. So, you can't always rule with the iron fist. And then we'll go over a brief summary and then I'll ask questions, or I'll answer questions. Okay, so Ronald Reagan. I really like this quote. It's very, very appropriate for this. Surround yourself with the best people you can find, delegate authority, which is very important, and don't interfere as long as the policy you decide upon is being carried out. I'm a big fan of autonomy. I'm given a lot of autonomy in my job, and I try to give it to my personnel, give guidance as needed. If I have direct information I need to put out and have them do something a certain way, I'll do that. But I really like the way of autonomy and delegation because it gives personnel a little more ownership of their work, and I think that's the way a team functions. And if you have a different way of seeing it, please be sure to let me know, and we can have a discussion about it. All right. So defining employee empowerment. So we have different ways of defining it, but this is what I got out of Google, my friend. Employee empowerment is giving employees a certain degree of autonomy and responsibility for decision-making regarding their specific organizational tasks. Meaning, that if they have a job and their job is already spelled out and what they need to make decisions on is stuff they're responsible for, well, there's no need to go in there and tell them how to boil the egg kind of thing. It doesn't just apply to one person. You have to treat everybody along the same lines and give them all the empowerment to be able to work and function with their own tasks. You give them the rules and they'll figure out how to use them. If they need help, they'll ask. So this supports team building. You support both upper management and management of your own team. You're giving people the opportunity to take on more responsibility. When people have the opportunity, they run with it. They do really good things with it. And when I have any provides forceful backup, I don't know if that's a term used outside of the military, but we use it a lot here because my company is about 40% veteran. So providing forceful backup means you have somebody that you can rely on, that if you need to take vacation or take PTO or to step out of the office, you have somebody there that can back you up, and you don't need to have somebody babysit them while you're gone, and you can take the time you need. It does support successful succession planning. If you share information, you don't have a single point of failure, so you're not the only person. We also have another expression that's, you don't want to be the senior person with the secret. You don't ever want to be the person with the secret. It's not a good thing to be holding all the cards, because one day you could get by bus, or you could just decide, I'm done with that job, and what are you going to leave behind? You're going to leave behind an organization that is going to flail because they're going to have to figure out what it was that you were doing. And then if you go on to another job and you need a reference, guess what? That reference is not going to happen. It also supports quality of life. I believe highly in quality of life initiatives, but I don't just mean as you get so many vacation days in a month. It's about being happy with your job, being happy to come to work, being happy to go home, not spending all your time around your computer. If I take my computer home, but honestly, most of the time it's in my car just in case I need it. One day I'll get to a point where I can totally leave it at my desk, but I'm not quite there yet. I'm hoping to encourage my team to get there. I don't call my team after hours unless it's an emergency, and I don't think I've had one emergency like that in the entire time I've been here. And same thing, my boss does not call me. So it's a good thing. Okay, so to support your organizational culture, we all want to have a good culture. We all want to have a good place where people want to come to work, and while we feel a mission in what we do, and we see the importance of what we do for our customers. And that's primarily what my job is, making the customer's life easier, supporting my company, bringing in new work. But what we do is we want to encourage continuity of personnel, because if you have continuity of personnel, you have less knowledge you have to recreate or pass down. You can just grow it within yourself. You get a better team. If you've ever been in the military and you've been in the wardroom or the mess or just in your divisions, you'll know that there is a team mentality there that is better than just a paycheck. While we do value the paycheck, we also want to kind of work with people we like and respect and have a job that we can respect ourselves for. So, like my company, we're an employee-owned company, so we want to create a culture of ownership rather than just a job. So when you have people say, what do? You don't want people just to say, well, I go and sweep the floors every day. Well, I go and take care of our facilities, and it makes me proud because, and you want to have a good reputation out there. And the way to start with a good reputation is by having a great workplace. Customer service is easier to support if you have a good team, because you have teammates that can watch out for you, can give you heads up if the customer's unhappy with something, that can help you solve the problem. That also builds trust up and down chain of command. I know it's not a very popular thing to say chain of command in the non-defense sector, but it's just the best way we say it. It's a good way to support our company as well as our personnel. It also gives everybody more time in their day. If you have a good organizational culture, people will not be on your case out where you are. If you're away from your desk for 5 minutes, if you step away, they'll trust until given something else, given another option. But organizational culture, I can't emphasize enough. I think it is one of the most important things to have in a company is a strong organizational culture, and you have to define it top down, but also bottom up, because everybody defines it. But leadership has to show that they trust their employees and empower their employees. So we're going to go on with some of the tools that the military has. So in the military, we have our mission statements, just as some companies have their statements. So the Navy's mission statement is to maintain, train, and equip combat-ready naval forces capable of winning wars, deterring aggression, and maintaining freedom of seas. Now, as a defense contractor, I'm not going to be getting underway or anything because my job doesn't. But we are supporting those naval forces, so it's important that we know what their mission statement is in order to support them. And then this is one of my primary customers, and our job is to support them to be able to deliver the quality, cost-wise, material readiness to support U.S. naval forces worldwide. So you see how that mission statement supports Big Navy. Well, in your company, if you have a mission statement, it needs to be simple. Don't make 100, 200 words. Have it simple. Take one of those examples and work with it. But you need something that even the most junior person, youngest person, newest person, maybe they've been out of the workforce for 20 years or so raising kids and came back in. You have to have something that they can immediately come in and the first day understand what their job is to support. Because everybody's job in the Navy is to support that mission statement, and everybody's job at CNRMC is to support that mission statement and to support the Big Navy. So mission statements are pretty important, and again, you want to tailor it at the lowest level there to support your organizational or your overall organization. So supporting the mission, employees, they'll be able to do all this. Everything you see up here, knowing your desired end state, that they will know what the ultimate goal is. If you write a good mission statement, it's strong, it's short, it's succinct and to the point. And most importantly, in this, they'll feel valued because their input is going to meet that mission. Okay. Also, provide input to build in the standard operating procedures, or SOPs. We use SOPs a lot in our daily business. We may call it something else, but an SOP is an SOP is an SOP. It works, and we used them a lot when I was in the Navy, and it just goes a long way to have a standard practice. So in our Navy, we have published standards. We have the Navy Standard Organization Regulations Manual, the SORM, and that SORM, it tells you what your job is. Mostly it's shipboard rules. It talks about what you have to do, what your ultimate one-sentence or two-sentence goal is of your job and your responsibilities, and it also gives guidance to committees and councils, because we don't just operate ships in the Navy on your individual roles. There's teammates that work together, and some of these teams have to work together on committees and councils in order to fall within our regulatory guidance we're given, as well as our budgets in the Navy. So a lot of stuff we do is within published standards, and you can find them in the SORM. One of the first things people learn about when they come in the Navy is to find the SORM and find out what it means to be, say, a weapons officer or a combat systems officer or a chief engineer. It even goes to say, the lowest of the low, and they'll tell you exactly what your job is. So that's a really good piece of guidance, and we're required to have it on board ship. Right? Standing orders are their policies and directions under all circumstances, and so what they really do is two main personnel on the ship have standing orders, the commanding officer and the chief engineer, and that's so that they don't have to be on the bridge or in the plant, in the engineering plant, respectively. They can have these standing orders out, and those are your basic directions of how you run business. And if you need to know what to do, you just go to the standing orders. Before you even ask permission for something, you go to the standing orders. There's a lot more guidance that goes behind these supporting the bridge or supporting engineering plant, but it also talks about their philosophy. It helps the watch standards take action. So when you're on watch at time of day where you're doing exercise, you may know what your CO standing orders are, so you don't have to ask permission. They give you these orders so that you can operate as a watch standard. You save important time. If there's an emergency, you know exactly what to do, and you make your report after you've done your controlling actions, after you've done your save the ship or if you have man overboard, you know what to do. So the standing orders, it's good to have in place. At your organization, you may call them something else. You may call them pre-planned responses, or you may call them standing notes, what have you. But you want to make sure you have some guidance out there so that if you need to do something, your person will know what to do. In my organization, we have this business process management system similar to a QMS, but it gives us our information about how to make our travel arrangements. If we want to make a change to something in our BPMS, if we want to file a travel claim, if we need to go overseas, so that's where our publications and directions lie. So in your company, if you have BPMS or you have your QMS, you can go to those and you'll find out where your information is and what to do, and you don't have to go track down your boss or track down the travel person. You can rely on being able to go to your own information and find that to support what you have, because making the tacit knowledge explicit is probably the most important thing you can do. That way you don't have a secret and you don't have to be the only person there. Okay, so night orders. Night orders are a little bit different than standing orders. Night orders they change day to day. So if you're driving the ship around and you have to do a certain exercise the next day, you have to get from point A to point B. Well, your CO's night orders may say, when you reach this point B, call me. And they will also have directions on when you call me at night, I want you to tell me the time, the weather, so I can have time to situate myself and get a good picture in my head before I talk to you about any of the contacts that are out there. The chief engineer also has night orders that talk about what sort of evolutions have to happen. If you have to do a certain check on a plant, or do an oil change, or do some steering checks, because normally we do steering checks when we get ready to pull into a port. So these night orders are in place to give the watchstanders, come on watch, they read the night orders, they take the watch, and they know what to do. They don't have to go wake up anybody and say, what is my job? They know what their job is, and now they have the specific night orders for that night's evolutions. Okay. So in programs for engineering and combat systems, we have these things called operational sequencing systems. So for engineering, it's called EOS, and combat systems, it's called CSOS. And they basically put the policies and procedures in place for safe operation of the ship's engineering plant and the ship's combat systems. And I have an example of what the EOS looks like. There's several books out there. It's one of the first things you do when you learn how to operate the system is you learn those books. You also have to qualify to obviously be in charge of the plant, but you have other watches that have to do certain things every night, check systems and make sure the systems are working the way they're supposed to work. But the EOS and CSOS are there to tell you what the policies and procedures are, so that you're not reinventing them as you go. And they're specific to the type of platform your ship is on, or the type of engineering plan, or the type of combat system suite you have. So it may differ a little bit, but it's all put together the same way. It's standardized order, so that you can transfer from one ship to another. Now, in your company, if you have offices, like my company has an office here in Virginia Beach, we have one in D.C., we have San Diego, we have Philadelphia, where our headquarters are. We do have, again, our BPMS is our standard thing that transfers, with us when we go from one office to another. We'll know, what the operation we have to do is. We know what our requirements are. And so like this program the Navy has for EOS and CSOS, we will be able to conduct business and know what our policies are. We also have things for casualty control that I don't have up on here, but we have in our emergencies, and if we have a casualty to our engineering or combat systems plant, our watchstanders have those as reference, but they have to have those memorized. They have to have them known cold. And so that's another tool that they have when they become a qualified watchstander. Now, moving on from the publications, talk about retention through autonomy. I mentioned earlier that the military, we have time requirements for enlistment, or if you take a set of orders, you have to obligate for a certain amount of years, or if you're a certain part of your career. But there's nothing in there that says you have to stay in and retire. you can stay in for 4 years and get all your benefits, but you want to give your team a choice as whether or not to stay with your company, just as we did in the military. We give them autonomy, and that equals trust, and that engages them to retain. And we like to be able to retain our people, our best people, because it's a good way of ensuring that our companies are going to improve. Our companies can build business because we have people that are staying with the company, and our customers can rely on that. They know who to lean back on and who to get information from. In the military, promotions are still competitive, but path is known. So in your company, it's harder when you're in a contract world like I'm in to have a set path, because it's really based on what the contracts are going to offer. But in your organization, you may have a path to growing up from coming in as an office receptionist. I have a friend of mine that was a receptionist, and now she's a VP of HR at her company. And that didn't happen overnight, but she knew the path. So you want to share with your personnel and your team how to grow in the company, because if they feel like you're watching out for them, they will in turn want to stay because they feel like they're being taken care of. Okay, and last slide before we get to the summary slide is, you want to operate your team and work with your team by not having fear. You don't want to be a scary boss, a boss that intimidates your people to do what you want, because they won't stay long. The first day that happens, they'll want to look for another job. If they're not happy, they can quit and not give you 2 weeks notice, or they can be nice and give you 2 weeks notice, or they can just stay forever. What do you want them to do? Do you want them to continue with you if they're a good steward of your company? Yeah. I would like to keep my people as long as I can. I've had times where I've had people who had to leave because they've had family issues, and I help them out and try to find them another place in the company. But it's good for them to understand what their roles and responsibilities are in the company. Again, you want to get rid of the mystery of professional growth. But most importantly, you want to make sure that they know that if they have an idea, that they can speak it, that their ideas are welcome, and you're interested in them. You don't want to just say, "Oh yeah, put your idea in this box," and then never respond to it, because that's one of the worst things you can do. People is say, "Yeah, I want to hear your ideas," and then never respond to them. Even if you don't like the idea, or if you think there's a better way to do it, it may be better just to offer suggestions rather than criticize or just say, "Oh, I don't like the idea, that sucks." That's not what we want to do, or that's not what leadership wants to do. If they don't know what leadership wants to do, then they don't know, but you can help them out by encouraging them to talk to you about how to improve what they see as maybe a workable solution. So it allows them, like I say here, it allows employees to make changes within parameters without negative consequences. So when you give your team when you empower your team and give them the autonomy to make decisions within their area of expertise or within their area of work, you are opening them up to being able to make decisions without having to go back to mom or dad and ask permission. I'm sure that this isn't, again, only a military expression, but it's easier to ask for forgiveness than for permission. A lot of times in the Navy, I use that. Here, I don't have to, but it's one thing that people might want to go with. And then finally, employee empowerment and having autonomy adds their "what's in it for me." If they want to know what's in it for me, what am I getting out of this job? Well, if they have a team leader or a project manager that trusts them, or if they have coworkers that trust them to do a good job, they will do a good job for you, and you will be able to work with them, and you'll see their growth. It's great when it works out. It's unfortunate it's going to happen where it doesn't, but you don't want that to be something that you could prevent it, because it's always hard to replace good people, especially when they've been with your company for a long time. And I can tell you, I've been with my company for almost 7 years, and when we have somebody leave, we always know it, because if they've been there for a long time, there's always a big hole, and we work to fill it fast, and then we ask ourselves, "Oh, they did that? Oh yeah." So it's a good thing to keep your personnel when you can. Okay, so in summary, like I said, create a mission statement that shares the organization your goals, what you want to get out of it, what you want your company to achieve. And it may change. It may change over years. You may add a different market to your company, or you may add a different structure where you operate regionally, or may operate in your different bailiwicks. But it's important to have that mission statement because it tells people outside of your company who you are, and it tells you people that are doing their job for you, who you are. You want to publicize, standardize your guidance. Again, we do that with our business process management system. Our BPMS, it publicizes and standardizes information for us, and it's very helpful. It's not easy to get off the ground, but it works out very well. Take the mystery out of your personal growth. So you want to make sure that if you have somebody that's interested in staying at the company, but they don't know where they can go, that they are explained exactly the path. If you have a path, if you're not in a contract-driven company where you can grow people up through the company from bottom up, then do it. It's never a bad thing to keep people if they're doing a good job for you. Use standard operating procedures and programs to build more opportunities to empower your employees, and please trust your people. No one ever comes to work and says they want to do a bad job. And I know it's not a military saying, but it is so true. No one comes to work saying they want to do a bad job. So trust your people until given a reason not to. Most cases it'll work out for you just fine. It probably surprised you how much more your people want to do for you when you empower them to work autonomously and with guidance. You don't want to just say, hey guys, go out there and do a good job and not give you any guidance. But if you have guidance for them and then you allow them to work within that, they may come up with innovative solutions and be able to bring your company up another step that you maybe never considered because you're busy doing your job and they're doing their job, and it can all work out. All right, so that was the quick and dirty of this. I love this topic. I have a good time with it. I highly believe in employee empowerment, but that's my contact information. If anybody wants to get a hold of me, I can be found at that email address at McKean Defense. I'm also on LinkedIn, and stand by for any questions. So let me go back to, let me open up the chat. All right. Okay. All right, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. I don't see anything here yet. Let me go down. All right, Norval, am I missing anything? I don't have any questions?
Looking here at the moment, and oh, here we go. You got one from Emily.
Okay, there we go. Oh, Emily, yes, this is a great question. And yeah, I do feel that a department mission statement, in addition to organization, is helpful as long as it's supporting the overall mission statement of your organization. It can't be in contrast to it, but if your department, say, your company is an IT company, and your department is routers. If you have a specific mission statement that goes straight to routers and it's in support of the overall organization, I would definitely add the mission statement to your company. But like I said, ensure it goes through whoever needs to go through to get approved. But it's a great thing to do. Thank you for asking.
Okay, we still have plenty of time for questions. If anybody does have a question, please type it in, and Cindy will be happy to answer it for you if she can.
Yeah, I just wish I could see it. It's kind of like on your text on your phone, how you get those three dots that drive you crazy. I don't see that on here, so I'm not sure if people are typing or if they're just not typing fast enough. But yeah, if you have questions later on, feel free to contact me. I know I probably met at least one or two of you at the OPEX. I did give this presentation at the OPEX Summer Summit this August in San Diego, and there was there's a lot of people there, but again, it was a military crowd there, so I'm sure that there was a lot of people there that was interesting. Okay, Dale, how realistic a vision statement needs to be to the growth of the organization? Well, just kind of like setting a SMART goal. You don't want to set something that's not realistic. You can set a stretch goal where, if you say, I want to grow by 1,000%, that may not be realistic. But if you say, I want to grow by 1,000% over 10 years, that may be realistic. So it's just based on your company. But I think it does need to be realistic numerically. If you want to say you want to have 100% retention, is that realistic? Probably not. But again, just ensure that you have to that you can say it's realistic, and think of SMART. The specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-driven or time-bound. That's what I can recommend. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay, Emily again. Thank you, Emily. You're great. I did not plant you out there, I swear. Okay, how do you determine how far to drill down and document instructions? Too much versus too little? I think it really depends. You get the initial, when we put out our BPMS, we had a lot of broad instructions. And then as people had questions or as people started using them, that's when we figured out which ones we needed more guidance on. So for instance, our travel, I know that our travel personnel who did our BPMS for travel, because we had a travel card for some of us, and then we had to go in there, we had to go into Deltec and get our travel requested and approved. And so as we did that, as our company grew, we found that we needed to have a little more instructions. So they started putting a process map in the instruction. And then we still had people we could rely on to call if we really couldn't figure it out, which there's always a time in the trial process where you're going to have a question. So what we did is we looked at our instruction, and we just determined that we need a little more guidance on somewhere, so we refined it. And that's how we got to where we are right now. Okay, how do you manage a parent company that ignores empowerment and micromanages every detail? Okay, well, I'm lucky. I don't have a parent company here. I'm at my company, and we have a wholly owned subsidiary named Cabrillo. I think Cabrillo works pretty well with McKean. I really don't know the difference between the two, other than certain markets that we work in. But if I were trying to manage a parent or work with what a parent company did that ignored empowerment and micromanage, well, one, I think I'd be tempted to leave, quite honestly. But what I want to do is I want to talk to who I can talk to. My company, I am afforded the opportunity to talk to the CEO if I want to. I can email him. Just anybody can in my company. But I think I'd want to bring it up. If you have a team meeting at some point, if you have maybe a place to ask the question, I would bring it up. We don't call them town halls, but our CEO and our owners of the company, we're an employee-owned company, but people that started the company, when they come around, they will ask us things, so we're able to get that stuff out there. But as far as a parent company, that may be a bit high right now, but I would definitely bring it up. And like I said, you always have the option to leave, and that's what they don't want. They don't want you to leave. So figure out what their process is for taking complaints. But I would come with a solution too. All right. Is there any way to encourage management toward employee empowerment if they are resistant? Yeah, I have worked with people in the past that want to control everything their people did, and so what I've done as a peer, as a friend or a fellow department head on a ship, is I pull them aside and I've talked to them and I've asked them, how difficult has it been since you started doing this? Because as a department head, you go to a ship for 18 months and then you transfer to another ship. Or in my case, I was a weapons officer and became a combat systems officer, and so I stayed on for 3 years. And the best way to do it, if you have management that is resistant to employee empowerment, you want to talk to them. You want to ask them what they're trying to achieve. Don't want to make it a blame session, but you can also go through HR in your company. But I find face-to-face is the best way to do it. I have an office mate, and we drive each other crazy sometimes, but we agree on the employee empowerment. Our personnel really work hard for the company and work hard for the customers when they know what their guidelines are. And so I think if you show management the guidelines, and that they're following them, they may be more or less resistant to employee empowerment. Okay. All right. So Vera, explain the benefits of employment empowerment to management. Vera, are you asking what are the benefits of explaining it to management? I don't quite understand your question. Okay, well, okay, well, she left. All right, well, I'm going to assume that she was looking at how do I explain the benefits of empowerment management. Well, this is, you could always show them this discussion from a different aspect. We're a different market than a lot of other companies. There may be a benefit of giving them a list or finding a good infographic, or maybe having just offering to HR to have a training session on employee empowerment. Okay, Vera's back. Hey, Vera, I recommended maybe an infographic, or maybe having them listen to this webinar, or just talking about what benefits they could see in their company. Give them what's in it for them. Tell them that, hey, if you empower your employees, this is the benefit you will get. You will get a more engaged workforce. You will get you'll see people more on time for their jobs. You'll see people take less vacation days because they enjoy coming to work, or they don't feel they need that mental health day as often. Everybody needs a mental health day, that's for sure. But hopefully that answers your question. Okay.
Great. Any other questions from folks? We still have plenty of time for questions. If you do have a question, feel free to ask. While we're waiting, I will remind everyone once again that the next webinar following today will be a week from tomorrow on Thursday, October the 18th. It'll be the Mysteries and Miseries of Gauge R&R, a peek behind the curtain, with Bob Doring, who's well known for correctspc.com. So we hope many of you online, if you haven't registered for that one already, that you will consider doing that, because we do have plenty of space available. Don't see any other questions coming here, Cindy. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, I just saw one from Emily.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have any infographics you found helpful for explaining benefits? No, I haven't. I haven't looked for them, quite honestly. I've been using employee empowerment and autonomous practices, so I never really looked for one, but I know that they're out there. There's infographics for just everything. I use them in my classroom, but specifically for employee empowerment for explaining benefits, I think it comes off better if you explain how it benefits your specific organization, as well as the general. So if you have a need to create an infographic, there's plenty of tools out there that are free that you can do that. You can just Google infographic creator or create infographics, but I don't have one specifically. And as far as Bob Doring goes, Norval, I actually spoke with him. We spoke at the same conference a couple years ago. He's a great speaker. We're very lucky to have him.
Yes, and we had him present for us a year ago, and he did quite well. In fact, he had enough information that we did 2 sessions, and both of those session recordings are posted online in case anybody would like to go back and view them. Let's see here.
Okay, yeah, we just got one from Nick. He says employment or empowerment works best when leadership clearly communicates the what and why for the mission. The employees should define the how, which gives empowerment to them as well as ownership. Micromanagement bridges into the how and deflates empowerment. Exactly, Nick. Yeah, you got to. There can't be a secret about what you expect your team to do. So it's important, no matter how high or how low you are on the chain. If you tell people what the expectation is, then they can operate within those boundaries. And I am not a fan of micromanagement. It definitely does deflate empowerment. Thank you.
Yep, thanks. Let's see here. All right, I'm assuming this is a question. It came to me, I think, instead of you, Cindy. Succession plans are more oriented to a company decision or carried out by employees' autonomy, question mark. I'm not sure I understand the question.
I think the question has to do with is succession planning really a part of employee empowerment? And I'm going to answer it because that's what I think it means. I do think that succession planning is important to employee empowerment. I think it's a part of it. I don't see it as separate. Succession planning, you're setting up who's going to be, who you want to mentor. So you're going to give them some guidance. But if they're not empowered to do work, they're not going to be a good successor. You have to work with that to make sure that they understand what their roles and responsibilities are, and that they can also learn from your empowerment to how to empower their people when they move up. So hopefully I got that statement correct that they were asking you.
Okay. Let's see. I don't see any other questions coming through. Yeah, when Bob spoke for us last year, he spoke about process capability. So if anybody wants to go and view the recordings from either one of those two sessions that he gave, they are both on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, I bet you people are leaving because they got meetings at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, so I think we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. Did you have any closing comments, Cindy, that you wanted to share before we wrap things up?
No, I don't really have anything. I think I've pretty much said everything. Please get a hold of me if you have a question, and you can send me a LinkedIn message, or you can email me straight at my work address. Here every day,
All right. Well, thank you, Cindy, for presenting for us today.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you inviting me again.
And we're glad to have you back again. I'd also like to thank everyone else for joining us today. And we hope many of you can join us again a week from tomorrow for Bob Doring. Until then, I'd like to wish everyone a great rest of the day, and we'll hopefully see you online again soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye now.